Bitcoin price tops 50K in September push? Bitcoin is hitting September at a good clip. The largest cryptocurrency by market value rose above the $50,000 level Friday for only the fourth time in the last 4 months. Seems like a lot of times. Bitcoin is at the highest intraday level since August 23rd, 2021, when it hit 50,477. Josh Shigala, the price of Bitcoin going up forever, leading all the other altcoins on the way. No more bear market. Everything is good. Go ahead, Josh. Unmute.
Yeah. The a lot of what's happening is inflation as well as price discovery of this technology. And one of the biggest things that turns institutions around is when it hits an all-time high, it collapses back down, and then it comes back and hits it again. That's when they're like, huh, I thought it was gonna die this time. And every time that happens, people realize, okay, these are just cycles, and the technology is still here after so many years, more than a decade, and is stronger than ever. So yeah, now that we've got countries coming on board, 50K is still cheap.
Dan Eve.
Yeah, it's wild to be back over 50, but is this fourth time, did you say, that we're fourth time over 50? It's popped under and back over, so I think that's the 50s kind of 50s the new 20, right? It's the new, when it's the new 3. You keep on top, toppling just above that little line, and then eventually it's going to pop off again. And Josh made a really good point that obviously we went to an all-time high, it dipped down, we went back down to, what was it, the late 29s or something, like, or at least the early 30s. But now people's ears are pricked up. They're like, hey, it didn't die. I thought it was going back to zero. That dude that predicted something once said that it was going to zero. It hasn't. Maybe they were wrong. The fact is that, again, as Josh said as well, it's so resilient. We've lost 80% after an all-time high and still come back up and been higher. So the idea that it's dead or it's dying is definitely, it's just not the case, especially as more infrastructure is being rolled out, countries are adopting it. The recent one is now Panama, right? Panama's seems like it's on the cusp of another country that's dependent on the dollar. And now Panama seems to be on the cusp of potentially saying, look, we'll adopt it as legal tender. They're probably waiting a bit to see how it pans out for El Salvador, and whether everything kind of goes off with fireworks, or whether it's kind of quite a smooth transition. But who knows? There's what, 5-6 other countries in South America alone dependent on the dollar. So we'll see how the experiment happens in El Salvador, and see you at 100K.
It is pretty surprising every time Bitcoin does this, go down and come all the way back up again. Seeing 50K again, it's that old thing in your head that once Bitcoin sold for 50K, it always has the possibility of going back to that price. Like it's never sold for 100K, but if it did sell for 100K and it went down, it could always go back there. It seems to have that power where once it establishes a high, and it's absurd at that time, and you probably didn't sell, it might be back at that high a few months or a few weeks later. So it's great to see this again. And it's also interesting to see the altcoins following back up as well. Some of them reaching even higher. Ethereum's up about 20-30% this week. Incredible gains for the altcoins as well, as Bitcoin leads the way. Moving on to the exit question, where you will compete against the Bitcoin predictor ball, truly the greatest predictor of Bitcoin price in all of Bitcoin. This ball has been predicting Bitcoin before Plan B and the stock to flow model. And it says that Bitcoin's always going up. It's amazing. Yeah. Like you need a
shake model.
You need a model and a chart and a bunch of triangles to tell you that Bitcoin's always going up. Dan Eve, the price of Bitcoin this time next week, higher or lower?
Only up.
Josh Shigala, higher or lower?
The only way is up.
Magic Bitcoin 8-ball predictor ball. Will the price of Bitcoin be higher this time next week? Yes. Well, you don't get any more equivocal than that. It says yes, nothing else, just yes.